Good morning, friends, followers, fans. Yomama did a sneak attack on Nightmare last night. It looks like the entire portion where he tried to get Test canceled has been removed from the playback. That would be the portion in which he was discussing Becky and tried to bring up clips and tried to drag Mike and Nightmare obviously doesn't want to get fired. He knows that he has a tenuous relationship with Keem and not a great way to start a relationship with a host if you're trying to get on a show. But then the very next thing he did was gaslit Nightmare about the Foodie Beauty situation. So let's watch what he did.
Motherfucking goddamn son of a bitch, okay? There we go. We'll just do this for now while you have your clips updated, okay? Let's have a look at this one. Where are we on? The fuck you showing? Bro, they bombing the buildings that Foodie Beauty's in, bro. What are you in those buildings? She's like 100 meters away. She was at the KFG. They got a
Hang on a second. I had it on 2 times speed. Okay, that's fixed. So the building that was blown up is the Ministry of Defense in Damascus, and it was featured in Foodie's vlog about going to KFG just a couple days earlier before it was bombed. They also gave some warning bombs to the presidential palace. The president of Syria has fled the country with his family, and Foodie Beauty, Chantel, and Salah live close enough to the bombing that they can actually hear it. They bombed, this is Israel bombing Syria, and they have bombed a military base that was close enough to them that they could hear it, and they've been bombing along various areas where Druze live, which they consider to be allies and citizens of Israel, so they're protecting their citizens. But it goes deeper than that because the president of Syria set up a government that is backed by Russia. And so this is another Iran situation. And it just creates a bad... It's worse for us in the U.S. to have to constantly try and settle things down, right? So this is not easy, but let's see how Yomama talks about this.
not called KFC. Copyright situations, they call it KFG. It's called Kentucky Fried Goats. But you think I'm laughing, dog? Because you just, what do you mean Kentucky Fried Goats? They couldn't take the C, man.
Yomama follows Foodie well enough that he knows that the G is meaningless, the acronym is meaningless, and that G was just used because the letter in Arabic sounds similar to C.
So they had to put the G instead of the C. You know what I'm saying? For the copyright reasons, I don't know. But they got, it's like a Temu version of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, right. But over there, though. Okay. It's called KFG, though. Apparently, she's like 4 kilometers away from that shit. Yes. She was just there, She was just there. She was driving around with her and her man, and then she went back to her apartment that's not too far away from there, and then straight up airstrikes hit.
That's fucking nuts.
So, I know. Imagine if it happened like 30 minutes earlier, man. I mean, a 600-pound woman from Canada would have been in trouble. But kind of crazy.
I mean, hey,
look at that shit. That shit's crazy.
Chantel, he called you 600 pounds. He did. Okay. Billy the Fridge is 600 pounds. But Yomama just laid that down on test for you. Okay.
Gnarly.
But I got to ask you this question, though. For love, right? Because she went down there to Syria because she loves her man, even though it's a civil war going down there. And
did she though, Yo Mama? Is that why she went to Syria? Because I'm fairly certain they were on the verge of getting kicked out of Kuwait. It sounds like Salah was kicked out of Kuwait. He lost his residency status. So he only had one country he could go back to, and that was Syria. She went back to Canada and had intended to stay there for at least a year while they figured out where they were going to live. But she stalks men. She buys men. She has been stalking everybody in her life, all of these men, for years. And she's been documenting it on her channel. And chasing the big D is more important to her than safety, because she has some sort of mental issues going on. And here you are, Yo Mama goes onto her channel and gasses her up in the chat to try and get her to either spurg out, where she loses her channel, she gets strikes and then ends up losing her channel for about a week or whatnot, or tries to scoop up her fan base because he's having such a hard time getting followers to his own channel.
You do that though for your loved one? Would you go into war zone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, it's just
Nightmare. You would not find somebody on global Tinder seeking out a brown fetish, which she has openly stated she has a fetish for brown people, for Arab men specifically, and then accept a marriage proposal within 10 days of chatting with him online. It was a romance scam, and he's already been verbally abusive to her on her live streams.
It's just some things like, you just don't, you gotta fucking take in that heat sometimes, you gotta be there for your partner. You try to be best to bring them back, obviously, as much as you can, but...
Yeah, I agree.
Well, she has been married in air quotes, because we don't know how legitimate the marriage is, but she's been married to him for 3 years, Nightmare. And she says it takes a year. It's so complicated. It takes a year to get him Canadian sponsorship. Well, we're 3 years out, and it still hasn't happened. So why isn't she bringing him to Canada? That's a great question. Do you think that might be a control move? Because she's afraid that if she gets him over to Canada, that he'll immediately leave her?
I agree. I mean, I'm inspired by the movie Titanic. You know what I'm saying? because she could have easily got on. She could have easily stayed on that rescue boat, but she went down there and she saved Jack. You know, because she wanted to go down with Jack.
I mean, that's true. That's true, man. It's a fucking love story, you know what I'm saying? But it comes into real life. Right, here's my question for you, asshole. Because I'm like, it's great to have you here. Why couldn't you have, like, I've tried contacting you all day to try and fucking sush.
I think they go into this deeper, but I'm not going to get it too into his gaslighting. But today will be a real test for Xylee Gets Real. Because she claims to be a professional reactor. That is how she got her claim to fame, is going after the fashion drama. Yet she doesn't even know how to put makeup on, and she was giving Billy bad instructions about that when he was putting makeup on. Xylee, I know you watch my shit because you're always in your feels about me, right? The reality is that I was a cosmetologist. I had to study esthetician and manicure, pedicure work, as well as the hairstyling, the hair cutting, the chemicals. I had a thick ass book about skin diseases and chemical burns and everything else. Like, I know how to treat skin, and you never pull down on facial skin. You never say, now go down with that. No, you never push down on your face, period. But today will be a real test for Xylee, because is she going to double check Yomama on this bullshit? Is she going to allow that to slide? For him to continue to romanticize this mentally unstable woman's stalking a romance scammer into a war-torn country and making mukbangs while she's there, and 90% of the population are facing food insecurity. Are you guys going to be a stupid network or a smart network? Let's see how you roll with this.